Hey everyone, this is Casual Fanatic.
Film reviews without the shoes.
I'm Luca, your casual viewer.
And I'm Cayman, your fanatic. Hello, Luca.
Hey Cayman, I was waiting. I was like, I don't know who's going to talk first this time, you know? What's up, dude?
Not a lot, but also a lot. We've obviously, I guess we should explain to our audience why we've been gone for 2 weeks. But I know you have had some visitors over the past few weeks. So
yeah, I've had 9 people come through my little apartment.
Yeah, how's that been?
Quite on. Okay, so the first 4 people I took in because they were kind of dumb and they canceled their Airbnb without knowing that it would cancel that night, and they canceled it at 8 p.m. Yeah. So not the smartest group of people, and I kind of felt bad for them. One of them was my friend. The other 3 were like her friends, and I was like, you know what? You guys can just stay at my place. Come over, and you can like just leave whenever. Just put the key under the mat, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That went well, but then like I had to put in extra work because obviously like all the things that I had that were clean were meant for my 3 buddies that were coming in that I was planning for.
Right.
So well, actually 4. And anyway, I had to clean all of the stuff, and then the other 4 came. It was a good time, and then after that, I went to Oklahoma for 3 days, so I couldn't do anything for work. And then I came back, and right when I came back, I had to pick up my mom from the airport because, and here's the next reason that we were gone for a while, is because I got my tonsils. My wisdom teeth removed. Not my tonsils. That sounds awful. But no, I got my wisdom teeth removed. And that went actually really smoothly. Like I think I never actually had pain. I just took the pain meds just because, like twice, and I really didn't need to, so I didn't take the rest of them. And my face was like never swollen, but it was hard to like talk a lot because obviously the movement in the back of the mouth like agitates the areas. But no, it was good overall. Yeah, so that was like my last 2 weeks.
Dumb, like loopy videos right after the surgery.
Let me tell you, I woke up and I stood up and I was like talking like normal. It was ridiculous. Like I could have driven my car home. I was just normal. It was weird.
All right.
And I came home and I didn't even go to sleep. Like what did I even do? I did something with my mom, and then the next day, if anyone of the viewers knows Meow Wolf, you guys should definitely go hit that up. But we went to Meow Wolf like the day after, and we were there for like 3-4 hours, and yeah, it was a good time. I don't know, like the bleeding stopped the day of.
That's good.
And then the rest was just healing, I guess.
Does your mouth feel emptier now?
It feels so much lighter. I lost a few grams.
You're like, damn, those were
I don't know about lighter,
teeth.
but like, yeah, right. But like, if I go back there with like my tongue, like there are like these holes.
Yeah.
Or like I can feel how like my skin was cut up, and it's kind of weird. I'm not used to it yet, but yeah, I still have to like whenever I eat, I have to go back there and like flush it out with like the little water squirter thingy. But no, it's all good.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean that was like those were my 2 weeks. What about you? I know you've been out and about a lot.
Yeah. So while you were doing all that stuff, sorry, I yawned. So the first weekend, Elena and I went kayaking with some people from her work, just as like funsies. And it was actually like, it was really fun, but also we didn't figure out until like after we were already like there and like everything was set up. One of the people that worked there had told us that was actually their last day of being open because it hadn't rained in so long, and so like the water levels were really low. So they were like, after today we're gonna close up for a while until the water levels rise.
Oh my gosh. God dang.
So there was definitely a lot of like getting out and pulling boats across rocks.
Oh, so yeah, now you know why.
Yeah. But it was still fun. Problem is while all of that fun was happening, the supposedly waterproof bag that I had my phone in decided to just fill up with water.
Oh,
and
lovely.
I didn't notice until about halfway through kayaking, and I was like, oh, cool. And so I like emptied out the water, but at that point we're like in the middle of a river, so there's not much I can do.
Yeah.
I figured out later that my phone was just completely ruined. I took it to a repair shop, and the person said when he opened up my phone, water literally poured out of it.
No shot. Did you try the rice technique?
Yeah, and I left it in rice for 2 days, and then I took it to the repair shop. The repair person said rice actually doesn't usually work.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh. Well, that was a
but
GG's for your phone then, I guess.
yeah, but he said, because he said that he was like surprised that he was even able to get like the motherboard working again, because he put a new battery and a new screen on and all of that stuff
Mm-hmm.
so that he could like access the phone. And he was like, I could put all these new parts on and fix your phone, but it would end up like costing, and it would end up costing enough money that it's probably worth it for you to just buy a new phone, and then I can just transfer the data to the new phone.
That makes
I was
sense.
like, all right, I'll do that. So I was without a phone for about a week, maybe a little over a week.
Oh boy.
It was rough.
It was rough. It was like a cleansing period though, right?
No, it was awful. People would be like, hey, you want to go out? And I'm like, like, if I'm not at a computer, I have no communication. So I can't, like, if plans change, I'm screwed.
Oh.
Like, if I had to like print off directions to go places, I'm like, this is just awful.
Oh man. Yeah, that sounds like you went back in time there for a bit.
I like would leave to go do something, and then people would be texting me and be like, hey, this is. I mean, obviously not like texting. I told everyone to like message me through Facebook, because I can open Facebook Messenger on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if I'm not by a computer, then I'm completely cut off.
Right. In your yeah. Damn. But then what happened? So what happened with your phone?
Right. So I ended up getting I have an iPhone 12 Pro now.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like a pro.
Like a pro. So I took that back to the repair shop. We got everything transferred over, and we're all good now. But it was pretty intense. And then this past week, we have been out celebrating. One of Elena's work friends is moving so that she can start going to vet school. And so we like threw a going away party, and then we went out drinking a couple times, and that was a lot of fun. We met her brother. He's nice. And my birthday was this past Wednesday.
What? Your birthday?
I know, crazy.
Oh my god. We're so old now.
Yeah, well.
Happy 40th.
If it makes me even more old, on my actual birthday, Elena and I just like laid in bed and watched Netflix. We were originally planning to like go out to a nice restaurant and like have a good time. And I was like, well, because we had already been partying so much for her friend's going away party, on my birthday, Elena was actually really tired. And I was like, I'm not going to like have us go out and like fall asleep in the middle of dinner. So we'll just like watch a show and just like chill and have a nice quiet night in.
Yeah, that's nice. That sounds like a good time, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, it's just been a mixture of a lot of stuff happening. Been away from home probably more than I've been at home this week.
Oh gosh. Yeah, always out and about. You're such a party animal now.
You know it.
You know it. Party hardy.
Party hardy.
Well, that's good. Well,
yeah.
I think the audience now knows why we've been out. You know, surgeries, birthdays, and a lot of people coming over and leaving, you know, does that.
Yeah.
So
and a broken phone.
And a broken phone. Exactly.
Plus my phone is where I keep all my notes for the podcast, so.
Exactly. Were you able to get all your information back from your phone?
Yeah, the transfer worked perfectly. I got everything back.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah. I was really worried for a minute. I was like trying to stay positive, because like I don't have all of my photos backed up to iCloud, because I'm like, I usually what I do is just like every few months I'll just like download all my photos onto my computer, and that's just easier for me than like, because I don't know, something is weird about iCloud where like if you do photo backup to iCloud, it doesn't keep like a hard copy on your phone. It just like references the iCloud photo.
Oh, yeah, that's the setting you have to change.
Yeah, well, I just
it has
turned
like a
it
little
off.
spinning wheel and they look blurry.
Yeah.
That's like base saving mode on your phone. You can turn that off if you want. But
yeah, so I save all my photos on my computer, and so it had been a while since I had done that, when my phone broke, and so I was like, well, shit, I might lose like a good
So
few
much.
months of photos.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
but it ended up working out, and I got them all back.
That's good. That's good. Did you throw the phone case away that was supposed to be waterproof?
It's not in the
Little
trash,
bag.
but I'm definitely not gonna use it anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Definitely
bought
throw
for
that
so
hoe away.
for my new phone, actually I'm just gonna have like two actual phone cases. I'll have like my normal everyday phone case, and then I bought a separate like waterproof case that's like not just like a loose little bag, but like an actual phone case that's waterproof.
Oh dang. Okay. Nice. That'll do
So
the
then I'll
trick.
just
Hopefully.
switch cases.
Yeah. Yeah. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are going to be discussing Captain America Civil War, which came out in 2016, was directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, and
Mm.
stars almost every Avenger.
Who are
I
we
think
missing in it?
the only two we're missing here is Thor and Hulk are not in this one.
Oh yeah. Probably because they got a big role in the last one.
Well, we technically we still don't know where Hulk is. He flew off in the
That's also
Quinjet.
true.
Yeah.
Very true. He's dead. He's dead to me.
He did.
He did.
Yeah, so what did you think?
Um, I thought it was good. I thought I wouldn't say it was a mid movie. It was definitely better than some of the other ones, but
Okay,
I don't
okay.
know. It like didn't stand out to me, if you know what I mean. Something
Interesting.
about it. Yeah.
I think I'd have to put this one probably more towards the top of my ranking. I don't have like a list or anything, but
Hmm.
I think this is a I really like all like seeing the interactions between all of the characters and like getting a feel for everyone's relationship with each other is like one of my favorite things about the Marvel movies. And so I
Yeah.
really like it when you get to see like a variety of like, well, what happens when like Black Widow talks to Wanda Maximoff? Like those are
Hmm.
not two characters that you really see together very often,
Yeah.
and so I enjoy all of the little interactions.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like those interactions too. The only thing I just feel like I maybe it's just me, but like I don't like when everyone lives. Like like the last movie where Hulk disappeared, like that, that sticks with you. But
Yeah.
here there was nothing like that, like nothing crazy that happened, I feel like.
I don't know. I feel like no one died, but there were definitely like lasting ramifications of this movie.
Okay, okay.
I think it's not like with Age of Ultron, it was like the stakes were, oh, I'm gonna drop a city out of the sky and kill everyone, and it was like this big thing, but it felt very like clean cut, like Avengers on one side, evil robot army on the other side. But this one had a lot more like internal personal conflict,
Hmm.
and the stakes of the movie were not necessarily like world ending. It was just like, hey, our friendship might be over. But it like it's like a very serious thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We'll take a quick Marvel minute here. There's actually only one movie that we've skipped over this time between Age of Ultron and this is the Ant-Man movie, which is a good movie. I don't know if you probably have you seen Ant-Man?
I haven't. No.
Yeah, it's a fun movie, but it's not necessarily important outside of introducing the Ant-Man character. But he obviously is also in this movie, and so I guess maybe if you like don't know who he is, then he kind of just like comes out of nowhere. I don't know how you felt about that, but off the back of an estimated $250 million, this movie made $1.1 billion.
Oh, wow.
So over quadruple the budget.
Holy moly, that's insane.
Yeah,
Wow, that's like I think that's the most that one of the Marvels has done so far, right? I'm pretty
I
sure.
think so. The only other ones that would maybe make that much are like one of the other two Avengers movies, but I'd have to go back and check to know the exact numbers.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I, I know I know that other ones have definitely made over a billion, but I don't know exactly how much over a billion.
Damn, that's crazy. Like that amount of money and that.
Yeah,
I mean, wow, dude, that's insane.
yeah,
Well, good for them. It obviously paid off.
yeah. Worth it.
Worth it.
But yeah, so now that we've got that out of the way, it's time to get all sweaty in the boxing ring.
Let's do it.
Do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first?
I think you should go first this time.
All right. I will say, when a important political figure is assassinated, all signs point to Bucky as the murderer, but Steve Rogers doesn't buy it. So he sets out to clear Bucky's name. Meanwhile, the Avengers face legal repercussions from the damage that they've caused in their superheroing. That's what I've got.
Superheroing. Okay. Was that it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Give me a second. I'm trying to figure out this dude's name. Oh, here he is. Okay. The Avengers get put to the test when the government wants to watch over them. As the Avengers split in half due to the Winter Soldier being falsely accused, shit goes down. That's mine. I don't know.
All right, so we've got here, it says, following the events of Age of Ultron, the collective governments of the world pass an act designed to regulate superhuman activity. This polarizes opinion amongst the Avengers, causing two factions to side with either Iron Man or Captain America, which causes an epic battle between former allies.
Okay.
So that focused entirely on the government thing and not really anything about Bucky. Interesting.
I did say government.
you did say government. I know. I think I just said legal.
Yeah.
I guess you got this one.
You know, I'll take it for that one word. Oh man.
All right, well, let's take a quick little breaksies, and then we'll come back and talk about it more in depth.
Let's do it.
A boom! Look how quick that break was.
Dang, that was so quick. Okay, so I don't know if I like the opening with like that random ass shit car going down the lonely road and like that piece of shit holding something important. That was like one of my first notes. I was like, why is this thing considered important? And if there's something important in it, why is it in like a junk piece of shit car, you know?
You talking about the big truck or?
No, not the big truck. It was like where I guess it was like a precursor. We didn't exactly know who was in the car yet.
Oh, okay.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. See, like you even forgot it. That's how like out of place it was. I feel like it just didn't make sense of how and why it started like that to me.
It could have been like
if something was important and like is worth something, then why would it be going down like this like an empty road?
Unless it's like an undercover thing, like you don't want to draw attention to it.
And it reminded me of like, you know, that scary horror game where you're watching like the road, and then like the scary, you know, whatever face pops out and like screams at you. That's kind of how it felt like to me. And I was like, why are they making this as the opening? I don't know.
That felt like, because so we're just going to talk about spoilers now. So, well, I guess this is last chance for anyone to back out.
Yeah.
But so the stuff inside the car is super soldier serum, which I feel like it kind of they never describe like where they were going, but it makes sense because obviously that's like top secret, like no one's supposed to know about that kind of a thing. And so I feel like if you had like a big military escort or something like that, then it would that's, first of all, like I said earlier, that's drawing too much attention, but also like even the less people that know about it, the better. And so just having like two people in a car and just like, oh, we're just gonna like stop and casually drop this off at a government building and then be on our way is like it feels like some old school spy shit.
Right, right. But like the thing that bothered me about that is it was a piece of shit car. It was like a junker, and
I
the
mean,
two
it was
people
just
that
like it wasn't a bad car. It was just like a casual car.
I
It
remember
was
that thing
like
being like rusted. No,
no, it was just like a tan car
oh
because it was in what like I think it was in like the 70s or something like that. I don't
yeah,
remember the
it's true.
exact year.
Where
They
tan
put it
was
on
like
the
the thing.
screen. Yeah, but like it's just like everything is brown.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I mean, but even then, like a super serum soldier, the super soldier serum in the car without like any extra protection and like, I don't know. I just felt like that was kind of weak. And then at the end, spoiler again, we find out who it was inside the car, correct?
Yeah, that's like
Yeah.
later on discovery because so the first bit of information that we get is that back in whatever year it was, the Winter Soldier was like tasked with getting the serum. And so all we
Hmm.
see in the opening scene is like he's on his motorcycle and he like blows out the tire on this car which causes it to crash, and then he immediately goes to the trunk and gets the serum, and then that's like all we get.
Right.
And then they like revisit that moment a couple times throughout the movie, and every time there's like a little bit more information revealed.
Right, right. Yeah. I just don't know. I mean, I guess there might not have been a better time to introduce like that opening sequence of events there, but I think with a cold opening, like no background, nothing, it was very confusing. And maybe that's what they wanted to get at.
Hmm.
But yeah. Anyway, okay. We can go to that next scene that you started talking about,
Right.
where like that cool device to X-ray the garbage truck was.
Yeah, yeah. They're like, this is where we see like all of the Avengers kind of like working together on like a secret mission kind of a thing. Like
Hmm.
before, like in the opening for Age of Ultron, it was like an assault and everyone's like flying in and shooting and battling and stuff. But this one is more like they're taking their time and like surveying the area, and they've got like people in different areas
Yeah.
so that they can like figure out what's happening.
Definitely more spy centric.
Yeah. But obviously, eventually, it does come to blows, and my first note here was that the choreography and the stunt work in that opening fight scene is really good.
Hmm.
Like I love all of the like different little moments they have with like Falcon swooping in and kicking someone, and then he'll like do a cool little spin and then like block some bullets with his wing or something like that.
Yeah.
And all of the obviously like Captain America throwing his shield around, and just a lot of cool stuff happening.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I know
I like I said, I've
sorry, go ahead.
been mentioning the X-ray of the garbage truck a few times now,
Yeah,
and I thought that was like super cool. I don't know why, but that was like some new tech that we discovered here
yeah.
now this time. Yeah.
And at one point they like because the enemy team is like breaking into this like laboratory to, and we don't realize what they're there for immediately, but they're like trying to steal a chemical weapon. And so they break into this laboratory and the Avengers are trying to stop them. And at one point, Captain America like gets launched up in through one of the windows, and they like throw a bunch of smoke bombs up in there. And Captain America, obviously, he's got like superhuman lungs, so I guess he can just like hold his breath for a really long time, which is super cool. And so he's just like running around, and he'll like punch people and then like rip their gas mask off
Yeah,
so that they
yeah,
have to breathe in the gas.
yeah. Like here's as
Uh,
your own poison, dumbasses.
right. But the one of the other things that I did really like is I always go back to like complaining about an older movie, but like especially with the previous two like title Avengers movies, how I've said both times now that they are just not very violent, and I don't know, I don't like that as much. It feels too like little kid fight, you know?
How
But
do you
this
mean?
opening scene, what?
How do you mean? Like kid fight?
Like no one's really getting hurt, like in
Oh,
the Age of Ultron opening, they're like anytime someone is like shoots an actual gun, they just like shoot off screen. And then if you do see anyone like actually attack each other, they'll just like knock them out. But it's like that little thing, like they do something that you would think would kill them, but then they'll like make sure to show a shot of the bad guy like rolling around on the ground so that you know that he's still alive, kind of
Right,
thing.
right.
But they did not do that in this movie. They are just like straight up killing baddies. And like at one point, Natasha gets thrown into a armored personnel carrier,
Yeah.
and then one of the other people like drops a grenade in after her, and she like uses one of the other bad guys as a human shield so that she doesn't get hurt by the explosion.
Yeah. Fucking badass.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder why that is though. Like what's the difference from one movie to the next for them to be doing these dramatic changes?
I think it's just the directing style of
Were they
the
different
Avengers. The first Avengers movie and Age of Ultron were both directed by Joss Whedon. This one was directed by the Russo brothers, who are the same people that directed Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
I see. So they
And
got
so
more
different
balls.
directors just have different, yeah, like different visions of like what the movie should be like.
Well, I mean, I wonder if they learned something because if this movie pulled in $1.1 billion, you know, I mean, that kind of is the telltale sign. Like, hey, like people kind of like watching it being a little bit more serious and risque.
Well, I mean, the other two Avengers movies also got a shit ton of money, so
Not as much though.
actually, Avengers: Age of Ultron made 1.4 billion, so a little bit more than this one.
Oh no. I guess you got to take the people dying out of it. Make that 400 million. Shit.
But also, like we talked about before, I think just like as a basic rule, movies that are like say Avengers in the title are always going to make more money than the other ones. Even though this one
yeah.
is basically an Avengers movie, it's called Captain America.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so why in even in these Iron Man movies, why does Tony Stark always get blamed for anyone anywhere in the world dying, right? He always gets blamed for this shit as if he
Yep.
is like the personal like man that sold it to them, like his tech or his weaponry, right?
Yeah.
And he always gets blamed for it. And I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of Stark always having to take the heat for something that he was not even remotely a part of, besides from having his weapon.
I kind of do like it.
Really? Why?
I feel like it really like it helps to inform his character, and like him constantly being faced with the consequences of his actions is what makes him such a like introspective, responsible person. And like you see, even when he is trying to do something helpful and he's like, oh, we need to protect everyone, so I'm going to create this AI to help defend people when the Avengers can't be there. And then he messes up and he makes something like Ultron, who goes and kills a bunch of people. And it's like, that was his idea, so it kind of is his fault. Like anyone that Ultron killed is ultimately on him. And I feel like that is, especially for this movie, sort of like reflects onto his decision once they are confronted about the Sokovia Accords. And Stark is the kind of person who sits there and realizes, he's like, hey, I know that we're trying to do something good, but obviously we're all just human beings and we make mistakes. And so having this government regulation could maybe like make us a better team if we are not just like out doing whatever we want to do. Because, well, like you said, like that's what the bad guys do. They don't follow rules. If we want to be better than them, we should have rules to follow.
Right. I get that, but I think maybe I just feel bad for Tony because he does take it so personally every single time. And that was like the change in this movie for him, was because he was trying to be overly responsible because he knows that he like 15 to 200th party killed people, you know?
Yeah.
I just felt bad for him.
No, for sure.
But yeah.
I think you sort of see, especially because Tony has so much power, like obviously like other people, like Natasha has also killed a bunch of people, but she has like, everyone she's killed has been someone that she has personally killed. And like same
Right.
with Winter Soldier. Like he is an actual assassin and like went out and murdered people. But
Mm-hmm.
Tony Stark, it by proxy is responsible for a lot more deaths because first of all he was a actual weapons manufacturer for a long time, so like produced the tools that people use to kill each other, but then also even when he's trying to be a good person still ends up causing a lot of destruction even when he's not trying to.
Yeah.
And I feel
I
like it just like
yeah.
weighs really heavily on his conscience. And I think that I do feel bad for him for getting so much of the blame when other people don't necessarily. But I also think like from a writing standpoint, it's a very effective way that to for the audience to really understand his inner struggles.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Okay. And I think it ties good into that, like his inner struggles, and then he got blamed because like that building blew up and it was his missile that caused it, or his bomb or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then the mother came directly to him and blamed him for it.
Hmm.
And then they addressed like all the negatives. We kind of talked about this earlier. They addressed all the negatives of like the past 4 years of what the Avengers have done. And
Right.
then the US government came in and was like, okay, we need to watch you guys.
Right. So they first of all, before we get too ahead of ourselves, the conference that
Oh,
he's at when that mother confronts him, I think he's at
hmm.
MIT, which he like Tony Stark is supposed to have graduated from MIT. And so he's like going and he goes and like funds all of the research projects for all of the students there.
Yeah.
But he's showing off this like virtual reality therapy thing to like relive memories and like try to do something different or something. I don't really know what the purpose of it is, but I did think that they did a pretty decent job of de-aging Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. It was a really good scene. I think he was just trying to show of how he dealt with his trauma of rewriting the event in his head,
Right.
but like or like dealing it face on, and then
Because
obviously
you
showing
can
it.
see in the beginning of the scene it like plays out normally, but then like at the end it sort of like breaks and you see his mother like go up to him and be like, hey, you need to say goodbye to your father because you know that this is the last time you're ever going to see him.
Right. Then he was
And it's
like,
like
"I love
obviously
you."
she wouldn't have said that in real life, but
Right.
knowing now that that was the last time they saw each other before they died.
I mean, yeah, it's a good way that you could cope with something. Yeah, and I did
Yeah.
like how they staged the whole thing too. Like, I guess they had like a shit ton of projectors projecting onto like these white objects that were in just basically volume shapes of what the actual room looked like in the past, and then they
Yeah.
shown on there with more detail, computer generated. It was a very good idea, and like you said, again, they did de-age Tony very well. Like, I could definitely see that have been him,
Yeah. And I like
having been him.
I haven't seen a whole lot of older Robert Downey Jr. movies. I know he like we talked about in even the first Iron Man movie, like he did a couple movies and then he got into a lot of trouble with like drug abuse and stuff and he
Yeah.
was like gone for a while and then he got back into movies. But like his pre-drug filmography, I haven't really watched any of that. But you can go back and like see pictures and stuff and like that is what he looked like back then.
Mm.
But I feel like sometimes like it's very obvious, like you can tell like, oh, that looks like a digital face. But I feel like I don't know, this one felt very natural, like they spent a lot of time on it.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah, so after the mother confronts him in the hallway by the elevator, they are called into a meeting with General Ross because so the other bad thing that happens is at the beginning of this movie, they're like fighting over the chemical weapon and I believe his name is Crossbones, but one of the guys that one of the like main bad guys from Captain America Winter Soldier, because at the end of that building at the end of that movie when the building collapsed he was still inside but
Yeah.
apparently survived somehow, but his face is all messed up.
Hmm.
And so he's like angry with Captain America and they get into a fight and he's like he reveals that he has a bomb suit and he's like, fuck you guys, I'm gonna blow everyone up. and Wanda like uses her powers to like capture his explosion and like throw him up into the air, but she accidentally throws him into the side of a building, and so a bunch more people die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so not only are they getting in trouble for that, but then General Ross goes back through like all of the stuff that got smashed up during the Chitauri invasion, and like when Hulk went crazy in South Africa. And it was just like all of these like different things where a bunch of people have died as a direct result of the Avengers. And so he basically tells them that there's been like a big meeting with the United Nations, and a bunch of countries have decided to come together and um,
Talk about.
and create something called the Sokovia Accords,
Yeah.
which would basically place limits on the Avengers so that if there is a crisis, they can specifically call for the Avengers to help, or if they don't want their help, they can tell them to stay put.
Right. Right. I don't know. What do you think of that?
I I mean that's I think part of the reason, another reason that I like this conflict so much is I feel like it is really difficult to pick a side. The optimistic, hopeful side of me wants to side with Captain America and like, no, you guys are the good guys, and like obviously you're never going to be able to save everyone, but like at least you're trying to do something good. But then
Mhm.
on the other side, if you like are being a bit more realistic about it, then it's like vigilantism is illegal for a reason. Like even if you're
Right.
trying to do something good, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually going to do something good.
Right. Right.
There
Just your
are there
opinion.
are rules and laws in place for a reason, and I think they need to be held accountable for the things that they're doing.
Right. No, I totally agree with you. I think I was a fan of Stark, stepping with the side of the government and saying that we need to be regulated and told what to do and when to do it. And if they're not asked to do anything, then it's okay. Then, whatever happens, happens. But then, I also like tea a lot. So it's like I'm siding with the drama side during the movie, although I know it's, technically wrong just because I want to see the drama and the unknowns of having like a quote unquote good vigilante
Hmm.
fighting the teammates that also think like both sides think they're doing good, right?
Right.
So it's like, well, like either way it'll be good, but finding out which side wins, quote unquote wins, or gets swayed to do good, it just builds up the tension, and that's why I liked it. But like you said, I think I would side with Tony's thought process of being regulated, because I mean he's probably one of the only people there that has felt the wrath of the public and like mass death being on his
Yeah.
hands unintentionally,
Yeah.
although he also was trying to do good with his weaponry.
Right. And so I think they really do a good job of making it so that it's not, you never feel like there's a clear, like, this is the right answer and this is the wrong answer. Like, both Steve and Tony are like making very valid points.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
And honestly, maybe siding with both sides during the movie makes it all the more interesting, because I don't know. I don't know. I feel like psychologically, people always side with the weaker side, like if they don't have any, what's it called? I feel like people always like I catch myself siding with the weaker teams just because I want them to win over someone that has more power. If that makes sense.
yeah.
And I feel like I felt that during this movie here and there too, because I wanted the weaker side to win, which was Captain America's, because they only had like 4, 5, 6 people on their side versus like the whole government and Tony Stark and a few others.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely I think it's in the beginning it feels very much like Captain America is like the underdog, but obviously by the time it gets to like the airport battle, they're like pretty evenly matched. There's like
Oh yeah.
the same amount of people on both sides, but
Yeah. Yeah. And Ant-Man really surprised me there. That was
yeah.
that whole scene at the airport was just incredible. I feel like to me that was definitely the best part of the movie.
I mean, that's
It was
definitely
just,
like the centerpiece of the film.
yeah, I mean, the size transforming technology, and I mean, I do have some questions about that whole thing, but
Yeah, that would be explained a little bit more if you watch the Ant-Man movie, but it's like even more, I guess, surprising because he never gets big in Ant-Man. And so you have like this whole movie with him like shrinking and then turning back to normal size and then shrinking. It's like all of this stuff. And so like watching a whole movie of that and then you get to this movie and all of a sudden he like boom turns giant. You're like, "Oh my god."
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, so the one question I have about that is when he is small,
Yeah.
right? He can still only move at his regular speed, right? He doesn't get faster just because he's small, right? But
So I
when
would say
all of
he
a sudden when
even
he just
gets slower.
exactly. So the thing was when he got giant, he started moving so damn slow. It just didn't make sense to me. Like if you get bigger, it doesn't mean that you automatically start moving slower.
Well, but he's not actually moving slower. It looks slower because he's bigger. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. When he was
Like
like being hit by Spider-Man
if you're
from like the
at a
different
normal human like size and you can like let's say you throw a punch and your fist travels like 15 miles an hour. I don't know what a normal punching speed is, but like if you get a good fast punch in, we'll just say it's 15 miles an hour punch. If you like turn really really tiny and you have like this tiny little like pinprick of a fist, if you throw a 15-mile-an-hour punch, that's like you could literally stab through someone with that. Like the power almost gets increased because it's like the same amount of force, but behind a smaller surface area. But then if you turn giant and you
well,
throw a 15-mile-an-hour punch, like 15 miles an hour is like your fist might only travel the distance like between your wrist and your knuckle,
okay,
but
so
that's still
that's
going to
the
be like a
question. That's the question. When he gets bigger, does he still only have his regular strength?
well, yeah, because I would
No.
say so. The way that the Ant Man technology works is there are these things called Pym particles, which were invented by a scientist named Hank Pym. And the way that they describe it working is that what the Pym particles do is they change the amount of space between your atoms.
Oh, so you still are the same person.
Right. So you're like you have the same amount
Oh.
of mass, but they're like your atoms like when you shrink, your atoms just get a lot closer together.
Oh, okay, that makes so much more sense. Okay, yeah. Well, never mind then. That would make sense. If I thought the strength is relative to the size you are, but if it's still like just the regular strength, I guess with
Right. And so that's
yeah,
why like when he's super tiny, he can like punch people and they like fly off the ground because it's like all of this like full-sized human strength in a tiny little punch. So like
right. Wait, so then
or
how when he was big, how was he able to lift up the whole damn plane? Wouldn't he be weaker? Wouldn't his shit be
see,
like
I don't know.
yeah, I don't know.
There's I mean it's definitely not like the most consistent, but also like it's not like Pym particles are not a real technology.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, okay. I mean, I'll go with it, but
cool,
it
because
doesn't
there's
make sense.
also you remember there's that one scene where he has like the tiny little toy car
Yeah.
and he like throws it and then Captain America throws the little disc at it and it turns into this like giant truck and then it explodes.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd also think like if it was the same amount of atoms just closer together, like that tiny toy car should be like super super dense. Like you wouldn't even be able to pick it up because it's like it should be the same weight as a full
Exactly.
truck.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
So they do like kind of break the rules a little bit, but
They break physics.
yeah, but also the technology breaks physics. So
That's also true. Yeah. Okay. Well, we got past that. That was definitely a few of my notes that I jotted down that I did not enjoy because if you think too literally about it, then you're gonna ruin the magic. You know,
yeah, there are some things that you kind of just have to like suspend your disbelief.
just swallow and go with it. You know.
So the I guess next big event is when Tony and some of the other Avengers go to there is a UN meeting where they go to sign the Sokovia Accords
Mhm.
so that they're like following the law. And during that UN conference, there is an explosion, and King T'Chaka of Wakanda is killed.
Right. Right.
and you see his son T'Challa, who is played by Chadwick Boseman. I thought this scene, like him, like running up to his dead father and like holding him and crying in this whole emotional scene, like Chadwick Boseman was like absolutely flawless in his performance. Then I thought it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
I feel like you really like felt his pain and his, like the confusion and the sadness and all of these things happening all at once. And then like you see him outside later and he's just like sitting on the bench, like staring into the distance
Hmm.
and like doesn't really want to talk to anyone. And then Natasha tries to talk to him. And then you see like slowly the anger build up inside of him.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I'm going to go kill this motherfucker.
Yeah. And see, that's the part where I'm like, I mean, I guess, yeah, yeah. It was definitely emotionally involved, like the whole way through. And he, like you said, he definitely sold that performance for sure.
Yeah. Eventually, because the bombing does get blamed on the Winter Soldier, and Captain America is like, no, Bucky's past that. He's not a murderer anymore. And so he
Hmm.
goes to find him. And then they're like in this like old, like rundown apartment building, and like a whole like SWAT team, like seems like multiple SWAT teams. There's like a bunch of people there, but like show up. And then my my next note was the stairwell fight that they had while they were
Yeah.
trying to get out of the building. It was
Yep.
baller.
It was, the whole scene was good with like him starting to face off with Iron Man, and then that transforming into the stairwell scene, which was super great. I mean, very realistic and well done.
And he tells Bucky, he is like, all right, I'll help you, but don't kill anyone. And so like throughout the fight there's like times where like Bucky will like push someone like off of the stairs, and then Captain America catches him and like gives him a look, and he's like, hey, what I say about killing people.
Yeah, yeah. He was like, yo, relax, relax, don't kill nobody. And then the Winter Soldier's like, what? Like that was nothing.
Yeah.
And
But
then when they make it out of the building, that's when we're introduced to none other than the Black Panther, correct?
correct.
Is that the first
So
time we see him?
it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, Bucky like jumps this insane jump onto like a rooftop across the street, and before Captain America catches up with him, he gets into a fight with Black Panther, and so then it becomes like this multiple people kind of a fight, and then they're like running down the freeway, and there's a moment where Winter Soldier like yanks a motorcycle out from some guy.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it was really cool because you can see like obviously all three of them, like Captain America, Bucky, and Black Panther, are all like physically enhanced. And so you see them like chasing after each other, and they're like running down the freeway and like passing cars on foot.
Right, right, right. Running like insane speeds.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that whole sequence was pretty cool. And then when they get to the end, obviously they're like surrounded and there's a bunch of police and stuff everywhere. And then that's when Iron Man and War Machine show up, and they're like, all right, this fight's over. Y'all gotta stop.
Yep.
And then Black Panther takes off his helmet, and we find out that it is T'Challa, who obviously just had his father murdered and so is very angry.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. That was a
Yeah.
plot twist for sure.
When they go back to the base, and there's that conversation between Tony Stark and Steve Rogers when they're in that like there's like that glass box, and Tony is like trying to negotiate with Steve and like, hey, I know that you're doing what you believe is right, but this is the best way forward,
Mhm.
because if you turn yourself into a criminal, then the government is just going to send people after you, and like you're not going to be able to help anyone if you're in prison. We can still have we still have a leg to stand on, and we can like negotiate with the governments to maybe like change the treaty a little bit so that it helps us a bit more,
A little bit more
but
freedom.
you
Yeah.
have to sign it for us to have that leverage.
Right, right. But he wasn't taking any of that as
Well, I
serious.
felt like he got like really close until I don't remember exactly what it was, but when Tony pulled out those old pens, he said something, and that was like the one last little thing that Steve was like, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I felt like they came really close to an agreement there, and then it was just like right out the window.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, it was just extremely unlucky.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
and of
then
course,
they brought
yeah,
in that, like, what was he supposed to be? Like a psychiatrist?
yeah. So they had Bucky locked up in this like bulletproof glass box, and they brought someone in to like psychoanalyze him, but then we find out that the because we've seen like a couple scenes before this of there's like this guy who's going around and like he like tied a person upside down in his basement and like
Yeah.
drowned him, and he found this little red book that has something to do with the Winter Soldier and keeps asking everyone questions. And then he went to this hotel and like we don't really see exactly what happened, but we find out that he murdered someone, and the room service person like found the body in the bathtub and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it turns out the guy in the bathtub was actually supposed to be the psychiatrist or psychologist or whatever, and he killed him and like took his place. And so then when he goes in to interrogate Bucky, he pulls out the little he first of all he has like an EMP, and so he like blows the EMP, which shuts off all the electricity in the building. And then before the like backup energy turns on, he pulls out his red book, and there's like a series of words that like if you say them it activates the brainwashing for the Winter Soldier, so
Yeah.
that
It's
you
like
can like
a code to spark him into his
right,
mission mode.
right. And so then he starts like reading that off while Bucky is like frantically trying to get out of his restraints.
Right. Bucky knew as well. Like Bucky was like, don't
Yeah,
do it, don't do it.
the
And then
second he started saying it, he was like yelling and trying to like punch through the glass and all that stuff.
yeah,
And there was it's like a minor negative, I guess, but obviously he's like ripping off his handcuffs and trying to punch through the glass and all that. And I was like, it would be maybe a little bit childish, but I feel like Bucky could have solved the problems by just like sticking his fingers in his ears and going la 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 la
oh
la.
my god, true. Yeah, I mean, not wrong, but I wonder if it works like that. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to hear him, right?
I would assume so if they're words, like
Right.
they're not, it's not magic or anything.
Yeah, I know, but maybe they wanted to make it magic. You believe?
So I feel like if he could have figured out some way to not hear those words.
Yeah, and I feel like his pounding was one way to try to do it, but with no avail.
Yeah. So obviously he does not make it out of the box in time. Like I think like his last punch when he finally breaks the glass is at the same time as the last word is being said.
Of course.
And so then he's like in full Winter Soldier mode, and Zemo, who is the bad guy there, I forget like what mission he gives him. Do you remember?
Did he give him a specific mission, or did he just get him into like his killer mode?
I don't remember. I'm pretty sure he gave him a mission. I just don't know what it is. Or maybe he like tells him to do something, but we don't hear exactly what the mission is, kind of a thing.
Yeah, it might be that because we never see what happens after that, right?
Right. But then so they're trying to escape, and so then everyone has to try and stop Bucky, and there's a moment with Black Panther and Natasha, and
Hmm.
I did think it was super cool that even like Tony Stark, when he's just like in a normal business suit, like his watch turns into like an Iron Man glove.
Yeah, yeah,
And so he like first of all just shows the like heroic level of bravery, because even with one super powerful glove, he is just like a normal human being and he still like runs up to fight this actual super soldier
yeah.
and is like getting kicked around, and he almost got shot in the face at one point. It's
Yep.
like it was intense.
Yeah. I mean, Tony is not trying to play around. He's definitely trying to change his ways.
Yeah, but he I think at one point they get to the roof and Bucky gets to a helicopter, and then the freaking most amazing shot when Captain America is like literally holding back a helicopter with his bare hands.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was holding it down, right?
Yeah, so there was Bucky was trying to fly away, and then Steve like jumps and grabs the little landing pole on the bottom, and then so he grabs the helicopter with one hand and then grabs onto
Like the base
like the edge
helipad.
of the landing pad
Yeah.
with his other hand, and he like curls the fucking helicopter to hold him back.
And I
Fucking
mean, he was
amazing.
successful with it too. It did. The helicopter did not get away.
Yeah, and because I think he was holding it there, and then the Winter Soldier was like, well, if I can't fly away, maybe I'll just like fly towards him and kill him. So he like jerks the helicopter the other direction, and then like all of the blades like dig into the ground and just like
Yeah.
barely miss him.
Yeah. One question I do have about that is, why do you think it is so easy for the Winter Soldier to have stolen that helicopter? Like, is it that easy to hotwire a helicopter?
I don't know. Maybe the keys were just
Like,
like in
yeah, right.
the glove
The
box or
keys are just
something.
that's one thing that I also like wrote down. I was like, it's that easy to steal a helicopter, you know?
I mean, he is literally like a Russian secret agent. He probably knows how to hotwire a helicopter.
Yeah, true. But I wish they would have done something about that, because like all we saw was like them running after him, and then like him starting to take
Also,
off in a helicopter, and they're kind
do
of like, well,
helicopters even have keys? I feel like if you
I'm
just like
sure they
know how
do.
to turn on a helicopter, you could probably do it.
No, they have to have a key. They have to.
Do they?
Yeah. You can't just have a
I don't.
regular ass helicopter sitting there ready to go whenever.
I think there might be like a key to like lock the door, but I feel like big like helicopters and planes like that, you don't have to like put a key in the ignition. Like that's not how the engines work.
I don't know. I mean, you have to turn on the circuits and all that stuff.
Yeah, but there's like switches and levers and buttons and stuff for that.
Let me see here. Okay, so commercial jet aircraft, they don't have keys.
Yeah,
Huh. What? Yeah,
because
okay. So,
starting a
turbine
helicopter and a
powered.
plane is like a whole sequence of like you have to know how to turn on something on.
Yeah, yeah. So turbine helicopters do not have ignition keys, but they do have keys to secure the doors. The exception to
Yeah,
this
that's
is
what I was.
military helicopters, which have a key lock that enables or disables the ignition circuitry. So
Gotcha.
military ones do, but like regular ones don't, I guess.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, never mind. That answers that too then. They did their research, I guess. I don't know. What the hell? Who would have thought that planes don't have keys?
I never assumed they
That's
because
kind of
like
wild.
imagine how first of all because especially with commercial like airlines it's not like it's one pilot per plane. Like a pilot is like going between different planes for their like the
Right.
entire time that they're working.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
That's
if
crazy.
like
So I guess if you learn to fly one of those airliners, then you can just get into one and fly it. Like that's just a wild idea to me.
yeah, well I know that like I don't know how many like variations of helicopter there are, but I know that there are like a
A
lot
lot.
of different types of airplanes, and a lot of like major airplane crashes have happened because the pilots were like trained on one type of airplane, and then there was an emergency and they didn't know what to do because they weren't trained on a different type of airplane.
Yeah, I mean that does happen for sure. Yeah. Or they don't even realize that's an emergency like noise or marking or whatever.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess when
Yeah,
he like stole the helicopter and stopped him, the Winter Soldier then escaped after he crashed it, correct?
yeah, I don't remember exactly how he escapes, but they did end up getting away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were, yeah. I don't remember that either, actually. But I do know that they knew kind of like a location where they wanted to go, and they needed that specific ship of theirs
Right.
of Shield, and that's why they went to the airport, and that's when that boss ass airport scene happened.
Right.
And that's when we were introduced to Ant-Man, and then somewhere I don't exactly know what happens after that because I didn't take a notes. There's nothing like super important to me, but that's where they flew to. That's where they flew to that one area.
Well, the other important thing about the airport scene is that is when we like right before that we get introduced to Spider-Man.
Oh right, yes, Spider-Man, and he did a great job for his first role, Spider-Man. I think he was very energetic, and he was I feel like the character that he played is how he is in real life, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Spider-Man a lot, even with like his subtle jokes and like Iron Man being kind of annoyed because he is such a kid and like so energetic and happy and excited and all that stuff.
Right.
I think he did a great job.
Yeah, I thought the not taking anything too seriously, and like obviously he's like fighting these people, but he's not really trying to hurt anyone. And there were a couple times where like even when he was fighting Bucky and Falcon, he like kept making jokes, and one of them was like, "Is this your first time in a fight? Usually there's not this much talking."
Yeah. He's
What I thought
definitely
was
a talker.
really impressive though is like there are a couple like small moments where you really see how physically strong Spider-Man is. Like obviously at one point he like catches part of an airplane when Captain America breaks it with his shield or whatever, and that was cool. But what like the moment that really got me is at one point he catches Bucky's punch, and so you have like this literal super soldier with a metal arm, like throwing a fist, and Spider Man just like casually catches it. And he's like, "Oh my God, do you have a metal arm? That's so cool."
Yeah, yeah. How did
It's just
Spider-Man
like,
catch it?
because Spider Man is strong as shit.
But that's strong.
Yeah.
Damn, apparently. That's strong as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought all of not only was the entire fight cool, but everything that happened with Spider Man was really fun. And well, like you said, he like has a very energetic presence.
Yeah, he was like a very light one, like feather floating kind of. And even when he
Yeah.
like fails, he's like, "Oh man," you know, like next
Yeah,
time.
he like eventually gets knocked down, and he like wakes up and he's like, "Ah, well, I'm ready to go." And then I think like Tony was like, "Nope, fight's over. You're done. Go home.
You're done. Time out. You're gonna be put in
Time out.
timeout if you don't listen.
This is getting too serious. You need to stop now."
Yeah, yeah.
There was one other negative that I had about that scene though, was I felt like there were a couple shots where I don't know, something about like the CG of Iron Man's suit, like when he didn't have his helmet on and it was like just Tony Stark head and then the Iron Man suit. It like I don't know, it looked a little off to me. Like it looked like a weird like floating head.
Really? I didn't notice
Yeah.
that. Didn't notice it.
I mean, that's good. The
Yeah,
goal is not to notice it.
it's true. I guess you were on the lookout for something like that, or it just caught your eye.
Yeah, I don't know what, like I'm not well versed enough in like computer graphics to know exactly why it looked wrong to me, but
Yeah.
something about it was just not right.
Okay, I gotcha. Let's see here. I kind of want to go to that like bunker where they meet that evil guy at that released the Winter
Yeah,
Soldier.
I mean that's right after the airport scene.
Okay,
So
perfect. What did you think about that whole thing?
I thought it was like I really liked the like double twist where they like, because once they realize that Zemo is like trying to get to the super soldiers, there's like this huge flashback and you see like Bucky isn't the only person that they experimented on, and it shows there's like these like 5 or 6 other like super powerful Russian soldiers, and they also give
Yeah.
them super soldier serum, and there's like a cage fight and they're like just like murdering the guards, and it's like a very intense scene. And so then they're like, oh shit, he's gonna go wake them all up and then he'll have a whole army of super soldiers and he can do literally whatever the fuck he wants.
Right.
And so they're like, this is bad, like we need to stop this person.
Yeah.
And but then when they get there, they find like all of the super soldiers with bullet holes in their heads, and Zemo is like, I fucking hate you. Why do you think I would want 5 more of you? Like, I think you guys should all be dead.
Yeah. That was a plot twist. I was not ready for that shit at all.
Yeah.
And then
I
the even more of the plot twist. There's even more of
yeah.
finally us getting the full picture of that what we started talking about first, that junk old
Uh-huh.
brown tan car. We got the full picture of that, and he wanted Tony, and specifically he wanted Tony to see this scene, and
Right.
we kind of got like the feeling that Captain America knew what was about to happen.
Hmm.
And the people So what we basically got, the full scene was the car flips, then he doesn't just walk over to the trunk and grab the serum. He goes over to the driver, kills the driver, and then kills the passenger, and then takes the serum. But we found out there as well that those were Tony's parents
Right.
that the Winter Soldier killed.
And
And
it's
Tony
like
was obviously very
especially
shocked.
brutal because it's not like he just like walked over and shot them. He like punched Tony's dad like in the face multiple times and like pretty much
Yeah.
just beat him to death, and then walks around to the other side of the car and like chokes out his mom.
Yeah. Yeah. Very like almost personal,
Yeah.
you know? I don't know. Usually like you just want to, if you're a killer, I would imagine you just want to, shoot them, get it over with and move on. But like
Well,
going there and using your actual hands.
I think the point was to make it look like an accident, because after he beat Tony's dad to death, he like puts his body back in the car. So I think that like they wanted to make it look like the car crash just killed them.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. Okay. Yeah, but Tony was obviously extremely shocked. And then he turns
Right.
to Iron Man and he asks Iron Man, I don't know why exactly he asked Iron Man, maybe because he didn't look surprised,
Captain America.
but he asked Iron Man if he knew. And
Captain America.
he goes, I did. So what?
You kept saying he asked Iron Man. He asked Captain America. He is Iron
Sorry,
Man.
Captain America, not Iron Man. He is Iron Man. Lamau. He asked himself, did I know? No. He asked Captain America, and Captain America was like, yes, I did. And that's when a brawl ensues. It's kind of what the evil dude wanted, I feel like.
Yeah, because he says, listen, he was like under mind control. That's not who he is anymore. That's not Bucky. That was the Winter Soldier. And Tony's basically like, I don't give a shit. He killed my parents. So
Yeah.
fuck him.
Yeah. And he put up a really good fight. I think the whole
Yeah.
fight scene was pretty dope between
Yeah,
Captain America and Iron Man.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And especially because you get, there's like moments where it swings both ways. Like there are moments where like Iron Man's winning and then Captain
Mhm.
America and Bucky are winning, and like, oh my god. And then the like Bucky is trying to escape out of like this missile silo, and then like Iron Man shoots a rocket to close the door so that he can't escape, and they like bust up his suit so he can't like fly right. It's like this whole series of events. It ends with, I think at one point Iron Man like breaks off Bucky's metal arm,
Yeah.
and so then it's like just Captain America and Iron Man, and then the fight ends with Captain America slamming his shield into the arc reactor so that the Iron Man suit doesn't work anymore.
Genius. Yeah.
Yeah, baller scene, and you can definitely like, this is like, it's cool in a very different way from the airport fight. The airport fight is like all of these people doing their cool moves and like there's a bunch of fun stuff happening, and this fight was like a lot more like personal because obviously they're like actually angry at each other.
Yeah, it was like personal and vengeance. Like you could just feel him wanting vengeance. You could feel it. And it's a good thing that they put Iron Man into that place, because since the very beginning he's been very passive about everything. And then boom, it like clicks and he's just in fighter mode.
Yeah. And you see, because obviously T'Challa follows them there because he also wants to kill Bucky, but then when he finds out that Zemo is the one that killed his father, he like takes a second and realizes. Then you see him like walk out and he talks to Zemo, and Zemo basically explains, he's like, I know that I'm just a man. There's no way that I would ever be powerful enough to beat the Avengers, but I am smart enough to make them defeat each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And T'Challa talks to him about how after the death of his father, he became consumed by vengeance, and he thinks that vengeance is consuming Zemo as well, because we hear he's like listening to a voicemail that his wife left him right before everything happened in Sokovia, and so like his entire family died, and that's what made him want to like tear the Avengers apart, because his wife and son were in the city.
All right. Yeah. And
But
so,
I thought it was sorry. I thought it was a kind of a like not necessarily an emotional moment, but like when you see Zemo, like he gets to a point where he's like, I've done my job, and that like I don't have anything else to live for because my family's gone. And so he like tries
Yeah.
to shoot himself, and T'Challa like stops the bullet because his suit is bulletproof. And so he just like shoves his hand in front of the gun.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it was like a nice moment of like saving his life and talk, especially with the conversation that they had and like talking to him and being open. But also it's like, no, you like you can't get out of this that easily. Like you killed a bunch of people and you need to pay for your crimes, kind of a thing.
Right. Right. And then like we see a scene with him in jail, right?
Yeah.
Or in that glass box. I think he gets put into.
Hmm.
I think. Yeah. I don't exactly remember where this comes in or if this was like in the credit scenes, but the owner, I actually noticed this time the owner, and he was talking to Tony and he said, "Are you Tony Stank?"
Yeah.
I don't remember I don't remember where that was, but I
I think that
recognized the
that was
owner of
towards the
like
end, but yeah, it was oh, so that's another thing that we didn't touch on is during the airport scene, there's a moment where someone is like flying away and War Machine is chasing after them, and then Vision like locks on and like shoots his little head laser, and he's like, oh, I'll just like knock them out of the air. But then last second he like misses and shoots War Machine and shuts his suit
oh
down,
yeah.
and he just like plummets out of the sky. And you see like both Iron Man and Falcon, like, because obviously none of them are trying to murder each other, and so the second War Machine gets hurt, even though Falcon's on the other side, they both like rush down to try and save him, and they just like barely don't make it in time, and he just like thuds into the ground.
Yeah. And gets seriously
And
hurt.
yeah, and so he gets paralyzed, and so we see later in the movie he's like going through physical therapy and stuff, and it's like a kind of a like serious kind of a moment. But then yeah, Stanley shows up and he's like, I got a package for Tony Stank.
Are you Tony Stank? God, that was such a good part. I like now that I like actually noticed like, hey, like this guy is the owner. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I'm a big fan. See.
But yeah, and so then obviously because everyone, well, we actually see this a bit before they go to the bunker, but there is a like super maximum security prison called the Raft. And so all of the people that were helping Captain America get thrown in jail because they're all criminals now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that shows back up again at the end where Iron Man is back at the base, and everyone's like recuperating, and he opens a letter from Steve Rogers that basically says like, hey, I know that we came out on opposite sides of this, but I want you to know that we're still friends, and if you ever need help, like I'll be there for you, kind of a thing.
Was that a letter or was that the phone and saying that he'll always
No,
be there
the
for Tony?
no, there was a letter, and then the phone was like a way to contact him.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah,
And
I
then we
love that
see,
that ending as well.
yeah. And so we see he gets the letter from Cap, and then it also shows Captain America manages to get back to the Raft, and I guess breaks everyone else out of prison.
Yeah, like a beast.
Yeah. And then that is where the movie ends.
But wait, there's more. There's only one extra credit scene, right? I'm pretty sure.
Trying to
Or
remember.
was there two? No,
It's
there was
been a
two.
hot second.
There's two. So, he hid them in Wakanda, I believe, right?
Right. Yes. So he takes Bucky to Wakanda
Yes.
because he was like, "Listen, I." Bucky says, "Just like the plan is to put him back on ice until they figure out a way to like erase his brainwashing." Because he's like,
Mhm.
"I never want to be used as a weapon again. So we need to like get all of this shit out of my head. But until we figure that out, just like put me back to sleep."
That was his own choice.
Yeah.
He knows, yeah. So that happens, and then we saw Spider-Man in his room with his mom, right?
and he
Yeah,
got like a little watch from Iron Man,
Iron Man.
and it
Yeah,
like projected a little like Spidey logo on the ceiling.
yeah. So, I mean, will Spider-Man return, you think? Like, do you think there's more in store for him?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's good. I hope it'll be the same character too, because like honestly, I kind of think he's one of the best Spider-Mans that I've seen, low key.
Yeah, I like Tom
Yeah,
Holland a lot.
yeah.
Real quick, just because we like, I guess we never really got into it, but like, why would you say that you think this movie is like middle for you?
Well, it's a little bit above mid tier, but maybe because it was all internal conflict.
Okay, okay.
There was never, I mean, I guess, with the Winter Soldier being woken up and stuff like that, but and like there was never a time. It's just different to me. It was like a lot, like overwhelming amount of internal conflict in the movie, like overshadowed almost everything else that happened,
I gotcha.
and maybe that's why.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like for me, I understand that. I feel like for me personally, that was almost like a good thing because I feel like
Mm,
so many of the Marvel movies are like the world's gonna end, everyone's gonna die, this huge thing is happening, and like
right.
it's nice to just have like a smaller, more personal movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but then they should have made the movie like fully about internal conflict versus like adding this little spice in there of like the Winter Soldier. Maybe the Winter Soldier to me was a little bit like a push, like too much of a conflict push with like an evil person
Okay.
because they could have already done a lot with just the divide within the superheroes. They could have done a lot
Yeah.
with that, but then they had to add in the Winter Soldier being activated again, which I feel
Well, I
like,
think
I mean, it's already
the
happened.
Winter Soldier creates physical conflict because if it was just about the Accords, then it would just be like an entire movie of them arguing with each other. But like, I think that could have also been interesting, but I don't know if that would have been the best move. But I feel like there's no scenario like if Winter Soldier isn't involved and it's just about the Sokovia Accords. They had to have something that would bring them to a physical fight. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what would have been better, but there's something about the movie that made it a little stale. Maybe like I wanted to see more Spider-Man or like the new characters that were in it, like Black Panther. And I mean, that could have already alone been like the physical fight they were asking for. Like if some of them side with the Black Panther and then some of them don't, and then they also have like the argument with the government. That I mean, that could have already there been enough of a battle between the two sides and like trying to get the government to like roll over. I'm not sure though.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But, Luca, are you ready for some trivia?
I am.
Well, our first piece of trivia here says that this movie revealed that since the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes has been hiding out in Bucharest, which is the capital of Romania, and Sebastian Stan, who's the actor who plays Bucky, is a Romanian American actor. So in the scene where he's buying fruit from the street vendor, he's actually speaking his native language
Oh, no way.
because Sebastian Stan speaks Romanian.
That's cool. I like that. Oh, there was like another language part that I wanted to mention. At one point they were like buying food and they were
Hmm.
speaking German and they did a good job. They did a good job with German in this movie.
Nice. Well, I know that. What scene specifically? Do you remember who was speaking German?
Oh no, it was none of the Avengers, I don't think. Or maybe it was Captain
Because
America. But I
I
know.
know Daniel Bruhl, who plays Zemo, the bad guy. It like he can speak German.
Oh no, I don't think he was the one that spoke it because they were at a restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that actually does lead into our next fact here, which is that Daniel Bruhl he dubbed himself in the German version of the movie.
Oh, I love that. That's tight. He perk when you speak two languages.
Tom Hiddleston confessed that even though Tom Hiddleston plays Loki, but he said even though he did not appear in the film, that it does contain one of his favorite moments in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He said about the helicopter scene, he said Chris Evans does a bicep curl with a helicopter. If you don't love that, we can't be friends.
I mean, yeah, that was like one of the coolest fucking scenes. Oh yeah, you lift weights? Well, I just curl helicopters. Not a big deal.
Chris Evans also did a interview where he talked about the helicopter scene. He said that was really my arm, and you know what? I took a page out of Anthony Mackie's book when we were doing Avengers: Age of Ultron. For certain scenes, I would work out just before the take, but there were a bunch of scenes where I was the only one out of the cast doing it, and I would get embarrassed and feel shame, and so I didn't do it that often. And then when we started Civil War, Mackie has no shame, and so before each take, he's just out there curling weights nonstop. And I said, "Yeah, what are you doing, Chris? Just curl some weights. Who cares? I'm not going to worry about 20 people judging me as opposed to 200 million people seeing me in this scene forever." And so
Right.
before the helicopter scene, I lifted a lot of weights to get pumped. It's not like I just woke up and looked like that. That was me lifting weights for hours on end prior to filming that scene. And there
Oh,
was certainly a lot of pressure, and I was fully aware of what they wanted that shot to be, and I wanted the shot to be great too.
wow, that's sick. Dude, that's like it kind of plays into like that joke where like before guys go to a party, they start lifting weights that their arms look
Yeah,
bigger.
that was
That's
him
really
before the
cool.
helicopter scene.
Yeah, right. He was lifting weights for hours, he said?
That's what he said.
That's crazy. Wow. You really had to get this pump going.
Yeah. And then our last fact here is that Robert Downey Jr.'s personal trainer, whose name is Eric Oram, stated that the trick to pitting Captain America against Iron Man is to show that Iron Man is using the minimum force necessary to win the fight and not to look like he's trying to go wild and kill somebody.
Wait, what does that mean?
Because obviously, like, Captain America is peak physical condition, like a super soldier, but like, if Iron Man wanted to, he could literally like cut his fucking arm. Like, he's got a metal suit. And so the challenge with the choreography when they're fighting each other is you have to show that, like, obviously Iron Man is not trying to kill him, because if he was, he could do that very easily. And
oh, right.
so
Gotcha.
he's
Yeah,
like
I
sort of
mean,
holding back the whole time.
yeah, and I think they accomplished that by showing his like facial expressions while they were fighting. Like
Yeah.
I think I almost remember like Iron Man like kind of like rolling his eyes, like getting annoyed in the suit rather than like
Yeah.
wanting to kill him. Yeah, like you said.
Hmm. But yeah, that's all we've got for trivia today.
Let's go. That was some good stuff. I would love the lifting weights before the scene for hours. That is
Yeah.
so good. So good. So good that Thor had to comment on it.
Loki.
Or Loki, sorry.
That's all right. But yeah, obviously we would love to hear any audience thoughts on this movie. You know, like what you guys thought, anything that you thought we maybe you wanted us to talk about that we didn't cover, or if you had different thoughts about things we did cover, would love to hear some feedback on that.
Yeah. And let us know where can they let us know?
So, if you would be so kind as to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Also, tell your friends and family about us. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CashFanPod. And if you want to send us a message, you can do so on either of those platforms, or you can send an email to casualfanaticpodcast@gmail.com.
Boom. That's it. Yeah, well let us know of any of your thoughts, anything we can, do better or anything that you liked. Reach out. And also if there's a specific movie that you guys recently saw or anything
Yes,
that you would like us to cover,
we are
let us know.
closing in on being caught up on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So if there is any movie that you want us to review once we finish with that, you can go ahead and start sending in suggestions now. We will do our best to get to them
Yeah.
when we can.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been Casual Fanatic. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.